Fatigued of football yet? Then I've got the solution for you. And it isn't the matchup that everyone hates. It's with SeatGeek, the sponsor of this video. If you're sick of the NFL, the NHL, and NBA revving up their seasons, baseball's coming around if you want to see the Dodgers play in your town. The resale market's bumping and you don't want to break the bank. Well, SeatGeek's an app that's got you covered. Sort all tickets available from red to green on a 1 to 10 scale. Witness where you could potentially be sitting before making a decision. When you do, all tickets are verified for authenticity. If you're new here, let me give you a hint. Use the code TREE. It'll save you $20 off your first purchase. I'll be waxing poetic for this app when I'm 80, probably. SeatGeek. It's as reliable as the Chiefs winning games in the clutch. Unlike the teams that fell short of the goal. Let's go over them. Well, at least they kept it competitive for a half. It's more than I can say for a few other teams in the wild card. But then the ugly truth managed to come to the light. The Broncos were facing a good team. Their schedule merchant prowess could no longer save them. Even so, it's a solid season that's long been needed for Denver. They finally made it back, and even if they got their asses kicked, the shit-eating grin across their faces couldn't be altered. It's the learning experience year, merely praying to God that they don't regress from their current form. One that didn't have anywhere enough to keep up with the Bills. Begin an off-season of loading and preparation. Get yourselves a real halfback and go from there. I expected nothing, and I was somehow still disappointed. I had a feeling Baltimore was going to piss-whip this collapsing team into oblivion, but this was humiliation. The score does it no justice. The most expensive defense in football can't stop an RPO or make a tackle. Tomlin's baby got wrecked for almost 300 yards on the ground. Over 225 of them after contact. There were only a handful of people that gave a shit or even bothered to care. I saw a team that quiet quit. The game merely inconvenienced them from their vacations to Cancun. Welcome to the Bengals under Marvin Lewis. Mike Tomlin should have been canned back in 2018, yet he's still here because RD2's living in his fears. Nothing will change. The new standard is the true standard. This organization's embraced mediocrity. See you for the same shit next year, folks. Sometimes I wonder if Dean Spanos made a deal with the devil to become the Clippers of football. A strong resurgence in quality defense merely turned into a house of cards faster than most charge rings. I know what did it too. The dirty bubble kidnapping Harbaugh. Once this happened, Liquid LA was without a leader as well as a nation. Houston's defense feasted on the carcass of a decaying Greg Roman empire. Slaughtered without mercy or restraint, walloped beyond recognition. And Justin Herbert? Emmanuel Acho ran so many victory laps it turned into a marathon. As much of a disaster as 27-0 and the damn move to LA to begin with. They should have brought a point. Could have freed Harbaugh in time to save the game. Or prevent a blocked PAT to give Houston 2 more points. By the way, Quentin Johnston, there's the fucking door, buddy. They chose this guy over Flowers and Addison? That opening fumble? Take that and repeat it infinitely. The agony of an underwhelming season. All the hope and hype of a brighter tomorrow quashed by elements against you at every turn. Going into Philly was a tough task. They suffered brutal losses to them on 2 continents. Such a sad fate indeed. The consolation prize is everyone getting hurt. I'm dead serious, everyone went down. Including Jordan Love. He gave them the worst version of Brett Favre. So many delicious picks being locked up at Guantanamo Bay. $55 million doesn't get you much these days. Philly's offense was too busy fucking around reading books on the sidelines, but even at half strength it was still convincing. Sometimes it just ain't your year. The Packers learned that the hard way. Next time, find a way to beat your divisional rivals. And stay healthy. Although that part's easier said than done. Unfortunately, when you don't get the benefit of NFC South punching bags, it's a little tougher to secure wins. The Commies were an evenly matched opponent. And it turned into a fight throughout the contest, but in the end, they just didn't have enough. It's always fun when you aren't at full ability and have plenty of chances to win. Especially if the Commies keep going for it on 4th down. Never ended up like that, unfortunately. It honestly came down to one fuck-up. Baker and Jalen McMillan botching a handoff. That undid any sort of plan they had the moment Jayden Daniels drove it through their hearts. This game was the epitome of the Todd Bowles experience. Playing not to lose, yet being burned by it at every opportunity. Safe run on 3rd and short, they botched the snap count. Try to make a tackle, but grab the towel instead. They've been running through this cycle all the way to the game-winning field goal.
The Washington Commanders off the upright, and it is in!
They pull the fucking Chiefs! That's a way to win your first playoff victory in almost 20 years. Pour one out for the poor duck. He was delicious. The Vikings were a boomer-bust team headed into these playoffs. Well, they busted. Or should I say Sam Darnold did. These past 2 games ran his ass right out of town. The lights were far too bright. If they're not careful, he'll fucking melt. Dude got sacked 9 times, turned the ball over twice, and most of the time he was a deer in headlights. Hell, the entire franchise made the Rams look like the Super Bowl juggernaut of years past. It was that humiliating. Minnesota was set on fire by LA, and their abilities couldn't be found on a milk carton. The worst part is, no one's gonna remember the 14 wins or overcoming a terrible offseason. We'll remember the absolute choke job they pulled in Week 18 in here. Another notch to an incredible legacy of failure.
Are you kidding me? The season can't end like that!
It's over. The miserable slog of a team failing to reach their potential taken out a week later than expected. I know what everyone's gonna say. Oh my god, it's the Rams. They're rigging it so that the Chiefs can three-peat. Look, I love me a good conspiracy as much as the next man, but unfortunately for us, the refs don't play offensive line or special teams. Kaimi Fairbairn was missing kicks that he normally nailed, and that was probably the Deus Ex Machina controlling him. With that offensive line, everyone and their mother knew they sucked. The refs forced them to surrender 8 sacks on Stroud. There were about 5 or 6 in the fourth quarter alone. Spagnuolo's defense stiffened up in the clutch. The Texans just went stiff. That blocked field goal was icing on the cake. Houston spent more time whining about ref ball than they did admit their own faults. Fucking loser behavior. The Chiefs' beatings will continue until we submit. You're telling me the Ravens beat themselves again? Stunning. It's not if they choke in the playoffs, it's when. I should just play Mad Libs. All the changes are the players and verbs. Playoff Lamar reappears repeatedly in the first half despite his outstanding season. Down 21 to 10.5 thanks to self-destruction and a touch of ref ball, but Baltimore was off to tease us again. The defense clamps down, Lamar rebounds, and the team dominates in every statistic but one. Turnovers. Goddamn turnovers. If I'm Mark Andrews, I'm looking up realtors and rental properties out of state. He'll be a dead man if he ever sets foot in Baltimore again. All those great moments only to turn into the second coming of Billy Cundiff. That 2-point conversion drop was absolutely unacceptable. And it's damning as hell. You have King Henry. You don't use him in the situations you signed him for. You deserve to lose. This is why you never trust the Ravens in January. They'll find ways to repeatedly screw the pooch. There's only one major flaw with being a zombie franchise. They tend to be sluggish in the cold. Going into Philly would be a challenge to begin with, and then the high-end talent took over. No use in being undead when Saquon's simply gonna kill you again. And again for good measure. It was a tight game. The Rams did everything to keep it close, but then the fumbleitis hit them at the worst possible times. They can blame the snow or something. Too bad you can't blame that for Saquon being Saquon without breaking a sweat. And that's not the most agonizing part. The Eagles did the whole nearly choke the game away at the last moment thing. But then they remembered the teachings of inner excellence and finally killed off the reanimate. Last year was the end for Aaron Donald. This may have been the last game for Matthew Stafford. The old core continues to whittle away for the new. Meanwhile, Jared Verse is currently sitting in the old jail cell at the vet for talking endless shit. Welcome to the rest of the NFL, Lions fans. It's been a while since you've mingled with the rest of us. Horrifying playoff failure is just part and parcel of life for real teams. And this outcome was sadly predictable for weeks. So that's the downside of having a defense wrecked beyond repair. Jaden Daniels made these fools look like the patchwork group of insurance salesmen that they are. And when the Lions needed their offensive full power, Jared Goff returned at the worst possible time. Killer turnovers at every turn, especially before halftime. Then Ben Johnson got way too fucking cute and got burned by it repeatedly. The greatest season in decades for the Lions, and they end up with as many playoff wins as the Bears. Dan Campbell fell on at least 10 swords after this game. Add a few more for losing Ben Johnson and probably Aaron Glenn in the coaching cycle. Turns out they are going to see Minnesota in 2 weeks. It'll just be in Cabo. So here we are again. Buffalo circling the wagons of futility against those goddamn Chiefs in the playoffs. 4 falls in the Super Bowl, 4 falls to Kansas City in January. I smelled bullshit coming from a mile away, and it was confirmed the moment Christian Benford suffered a concussion. That suspect Bills defense got burned like Kaiir Elam does on almost every play. Josh Allen was good. Mahomes was even better, ref ball aside. You give up over 30 points to this KC team, you deserve to lose in the face of death. The Bills had to be perfect to keep up. Sean McDermott's response was to go for it on 4th down repeatedly. Can't go 100% on him, especially after that one. It's so damn predictable these days. Fans across the league are broken. The salt mines are thriving. Enough sodium chloride to keep the streets of Buffalo clear for many winters to come. Dalton Kincaid's gonna be haunted by that drop for the rest of his life. It wasn't even his fault. Spagnuolo's defense is just that good. Told you the bullshit's real. Kami resistance finally quashed under the might of an eagle. Is this a movie from the 80s? The clock struck midnight. 3 gongs of the bell. 1 for each fumble when they had a chance to keep up with their opponent. Kind of hard to overcome when you can't stop a relentless rushing attack. Philadelphia wanted revenge for a December slight. They more than got it. They buried Washington in the dirt, setting the record for most points scored in the NFC Championship game. No quarter, no mercy. Bloodied and scarred to the point of forcing a closed casket funeral. But even if they got fucking destroyed, you have to applaud Washington on their season. Even for a blip, their long-standing misery's been silenced. Their fans finally have hope again. Jaden Daniels could be special, and another year of building up the defense should make them a legitimate threat in theory. Well, short of the ultimate goal, it's one that will be remembered for a while to come. And the best part? Dan Snyder can only seethe in London while drowning himself in scotch. We got the good ending. The perfect one would be him declaring bankruptcy, unfortunately. I got a prediction right? What the hell? That outcome was supposed to be a jinx, goddammit! There really is no god. Well, let's get the AFC team over with.
We're saved! What's your name, new hero?
It's Titan.
Thank you. Thank you. Titan has freed us!
Oh, I wouldn't say free. More like under new management.
The Patriots dynasty never died. It simply infected a new host. We all drew out a sigh of relief when New England fell to oblivion, yet failed to account for someone else taking their mantle. Years of failing to beat them led the Chiefs to an epiphany. They must duplicate their craft. To earn the favor of the gods themselves, they'd have to resort to rather unsavory methods. The arts of unbelievable bullshit and dark magic must be conjured at every turn. This past year, oh my word, Deus Ex Machina was only matched by the whining from all corners of the globe. Myself included. You don't need much in terms of talent when you're getting every break and fortunate outcome possible. No need when the other team consistently fucks up. And it kept going in the playoffs. The Texans will regress. Their cheap parlor tricks are no match for a Spagnuolo defense. Baltimore and Buffalo, those paper tigers, you think they can beat Kansas City? With Patrick goddamn Mahomes under center? Be real. Bills made their own demise repeatedly. Mahomes needs no introduction. He'll just sidearm some throws and engineer drives like Brady before him. From dazzling to peak efficiency, the new Chiefs way. The weapons he has at his disposal are mostly similar. Travis Kelce, Pacheco, Juju. Speaking of Buffalo regrets, Xavier Worthy's here for one reason. Go really fucking fast. The speed that breaks defenses. Hollywood Brown and Nuke Hopkins are here as well. Not playing primary roles, but they do have ones to play in this offense. Brown's been injured most of the year, so that could be why. The key to this offense has always been in Mahomes and that offensive line. A stout, powerful batch of men that drive holes and rarely miss assignments. Regardless of if everyone says Jawan Taylor keeps jumping snaps. But the secret to this year's success, despite their offensive struggles, has been their defense. Steve Spagnuolo's a master of schemes and situational football. His play calling and blitz packages in the clutch is something to behold. His unit will expose every weakness and soft underbelly imaginable. And this is a group whose only true superstars are Chris Jones and Trent McDuffie. The rest is a chorus of highly trained and organized athletes that know how to perform in any given situation. The names on the back do not matter. All that does is stuffing their opponents with tactical excellence. Their evolution's been impressive. The ways they run their team these days are very Patriots-like. They're not sexy, but highly efficient. And the Chiefs' need to clock will be eaten under a barrage of short passes and deceptive runs. Masters at breaking zone defenses. Well coached, intelligent, cerebral. Why be flashy when you can simply play smarter? Demoralize your opponent to the point of them wanting the sweet release of defeat. But none of that matters because the narrative is set. If ref ball benefits a beloved team, nobody bats an eyelash. If the Chiefs even get a whiff of it, the game's a rigged. Great circle of manipulation that's passed down from dynasty to dynasty. And the sultan triggering from fandoms across the league are music to their ears. Decades of lolcowdom and failure have been forgotten. They are now the top of the food chain. A chance at a three-peat is at hand. The first time it'll be done in the Super Bowl era if accomplished. The new villains of the league have arrived. Unnecessary foil to a league desiring plotlines. Because what's the point of a story if there isn't a bad guy? They'll be shoved in our faces off the field out the wazoo. T-Squizzle, Kelce podcasts, ketchup on steak, bundle Rooski. That wasn't corny and ill-advised the first time it was played. We yearn for a knight in shining armor to save us, yet their opponent is an evil all their own. Sometimes a chance of revenge can take a while to get to. Look at what happened last year. The Eagles got a false positive in the regular season. They finally defeated their boogeyman. Kansas City had fallen. It was their Super Bowl. Nick Sirianni was taunting fans in the tunnel and became public enemy number one, including in Philly. Like Odysseus defying the gods, that moment was when the collapse happened. The offense struggled, team defense imploded, and their only solution was Matt Patricia. The rest of the league left. They fell to hell, but you have to in order to figure out what your team needs. 2024 was critical. The time had come to load up for a push. Jalen Hurts is a damn fine player under center, but he needed a premium running back to take some of the pressure off. A yin to the yang. A superstar needs to come back home. That man's name? Saquon. Finally free from a shit show in New York to play behind a real offensive line. Fuck, that dude carried an entire team to relevance in 2022. Destroyer of front sevens everywhere and then some. As Barkley gashes defenses across the league, the Giants are clowned repeatedly. And rightfully so. Yet letting him go shouldn't be the main reason for it. The real team to clown is Tennessee. They let A.J. Brown go for pretty much nothing. John Robinson should read Inner Excellence. It might help him out. Devontae Smith, Dallas Goedert, and Kenneth Gainwell? More excellent pieces to make this offense churn. Even if the passing attack isn't anywhere near what it should be. Jalen's been hurt recently, but a few weeks of rest should help out there. Besides, who the hell needs that when you can relentlessly pound the rock? A short yardage situation? Why don't we just take the ball and push it somewhere else? The tush push. Football at its purest. Rewarding those with an excellent interior O-line. You're one of the fools that want it banned, you deserve to never speak about ball again. Who needs Jason Kelce? It's barely skipped a beat. Speaking of that, who needs Fletcher Cox? That defense has made a complete 180 from last year's Hindenburg imitation. They brought in Vic Fangio to revive it for a reason. A battered secondary and withered linebacking core have been upgraded in the worst possible way. New Orleans, thank you for Zach Bond. You didn't know what to do with him, but here he's an all-pro. The secondary's been vastly improved. From a turnstile to being locked down at Guantanamo Bay. It's either him or experiencing white boy summer with Cooper DeGea. And Reed Blankenship, Big Play Slay, and Chauncey Gardner-Johnson are still here. Pick your poison. There's also that front four. Jalen Carter's just gonna wreck everything in his way. Turns out assembling the Georgia National Championship front seven has its benefits. Just a shame that Nakobe Dean won't be able to join them this time around. But Brendan Graham's coming back for the big game.
Unit ready.
And the results have been more than obvious. Dispatching the likes of Green Bay, the Rams, and Washington with some struggles, but they've survived to fulfill their true destiny. It's a shame that they're such a quality team while I have to sit here and get lectured about how Nick Sirianni isn't a clown. Great. I'm eagerly awaiting it. At least it's not the Cowboys. And that's the only benefit to anything. The Eagles' only desire is finishing the job. Kansas City's been a thorn in their side for far too long. Setbacks have hampered their true potential, and now they have another chance. It's a rematch of 2023's fight to the death. Philadelphia's stronger and wiser. The Chiefs have been weathered in the dark arts. The Eagles will be gunning for revenge for a bitter defeat at the hands of a tomahawk chop. Kansas City desires to become the greatest dynasty of all time. The rest of the football world will be rooting for a meteor to hit the stadium. If that happens, parades will line down every city in the nation, big and small. Unfortunately, God's an asshole, which is why we have this matchup once again. We'll all slowly die inside and hope for a really good matchup from these teams. But I implore you to remember the feel-good story. Kenny Pickett's going to the Super Bowl. The only advice I have for Philly, win or lose, grease the polls. Just do it. Logic need not apply when considering the NFL. You can study all 22 film, analytical charts, and roster construction until you're blue in the face. Philly may have all the talent in the world, but the reality is simple. The Chiefs are going to win this game. Doesn't matter how, it's just gonna happen. I'm smelling some amazing bullshit that'll take place. Andy Reid eats the greatest cheeseburger in the world, and Taylor Swift pegs Travis Kelce with a Lombardi-shaped dildo. I expect nothing less. Make me proud.
Can Mahomes do it? Got the P-Ryan. P-Ryan makes the move around Bernard, and that will clinch it.